I'd like to introduce Lynne Spreen, our founder and our guest speaker for today. And she's done a marvelous job in getting the Guild off the ground and keeping it going. And we do owe her a debt of gratitude for the fact that the Guild exists today. So let's give her a big round of applause and bring her to the microphone.
Can y'all see me now? Hear me now? Okay. This is weird. You know, we started this guild in January of 2016 was our first meeting. And this was the room that we were in. And we've come so far. It just astonishes me. So 1 month, the guild is shut down because of COVID. And we're thinking, what now? What happened? So we learned how to use this weird thing, Zoom. And now we have members. We have a member who lives in Norway. We have members in Canada. We have members across the United States. And it's it's much more simple to get really high quality speakers now because they can just do it from their own office in New York City or wherever. So this has been a real learning curve for us. It continues today, and I'll do my best. So anyway, let me get started. I am Lynne Spreen. I'm the author of soon to be 8 books. I will be publishing my 8th book early November, hopefully. Yes, right in time for Nano. That should be exciting. Never do one thing when you can do 100 at one time. Anyway, I was really astonished some years ago. Well, I'm a veteran of 6 NaNoWriMos. The first one was kind of it failed. I failed. I thought, this is crazy. This is stupid. I don't want to do NaNoWriMo. Whoever invited me to do this is a friend. Well, anyway, I tried it and I didn't like it. But after that, I tried it again. And then I tried it again. And you know what? I want to tell you guys, if you are like ready to dismiss NaNoWriMo as like a fad or some weird thing that serious writers wouldn't do, I want to share with you today just how important it's been to my writing life. It has helped me develop better habits. It has helped me develop a writing discipline. I'm a more productive writer. I'm up to 2 quality books a year. And some of the tactics that I developed during NaNoWriMo actually have stayed with me in other areas of my life. So it has been a real surprise, and I want to share that with you. So probably you know, NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month. It was invented about 20 years ago by some wacky kids who decided they wanted to try and put together a book in 1 month, 50,000 words. And so they like had a little marathon. Well, it took off. And now, 20 years later, it's a global phenomenon. About 1 million people a year do NaNoWriMo in countries all over the world. They have their own website, nanowrimo.org. And it's just, to me, it's quite an astonishing phenomenon. I think the fact that it's grown to that level in 20 years says that, along with what I'm telling you, there is something wonderful about it. So I'm going to share that with you today. Why would you do it? It can amp up your productivity. It can teach you something about yourself. It can help you form new habits and develop your own personalized writing practice. And it can help you complete an actual book. And if you're skeptical, you think maybe it's a waste of time, it would have to be crap, right? A book in 30 days have to be junk. Well, I have some evidence to the contrary. All right, somewhere have some evidence to the contrary. It's not moving. Next slide, please. There we go. You've heard of water for elephants? Can you guys see this slide in the room? Okay. Anyway, Sarah Gruen wrote Water for Elephants during NaNoWriMo. And I know, isn't that amazing? And so she has sold about 10 million copies. Reese Witherspoon was in the movie version of it. I would call that a success. She drafted the first 40,000 words during NaNoWriMo. So no, you don't complete a book during NaNoWriMo, but you can get a major boost going on your productivity. So that's not junk. And then I would like to show you another example of not junk. Yay, it worked. Good job, Liam. This is my latest novel. We did this once before. I wrote this in NaNoWriMo 2020. I published it in August of 2021. It has received 2 awards. I have about 400 ratings on Amazon, average of 4.4. And I've sold over 3,000 copies in 1 year of this book. It also boosted all of my other books too. So I would say that NaNoWriMo is not necessarily just, a foolish exercise. For me, it has been a powerful boost to my professional writing career, and I want to convey that to you today. So today I'm going to teach you my system for NaNoWriMo success. It's very involved. I have to tell you, I'm kind of a scatterbrain in real life. So in my writing life, in my professional world, I have to be very organized. And so some of my systems may seem a little obsessive to you. So take what you can use and leave the rest. All right. Obviously, planning would be essential. The reason that I do this talk in September is to get you have plenty of time to think about it. And then in October, you can prepare to actually start Nano on November 1st. For me, I just cannot sit down and blurt out almost 2,000 words a day for 30 days without knowing where I'm going. And we started an accountability group, kind of a motivational group, last year's Nano. Karen Robertson started it. And we wanted to keep each other, uplifted and motivated during the month of November so that we wouldn't drop out. This was one of the things that they said really helped, was having some kind of a program for getting it done. All right. Step 1, so important. When you get lost, and you will, during this 30 days, it's a marathon, really. It is a marathon, and you have to attack it as such. Why are you doing it? You need to know exactly what your goal is. For me, last year, my goal was to finish up a collection of short stories. So I had 5 short stories that I wanted to write by the end of the year. I wanted to get that thing done. Those stories were annoying me. I had a dozen stories sitting on my hard drive, and they're worth money. They're just sitting there cluttering up my mind and my hard drive. I wanted those suckers out of there. So that was my shining goal, and I did it. I published my middle-aged crazy collection of short stories in, I think it was March, April, something like that. I don't remember now because I'm publishing so many books, I don't even keep track anymore. Anyway, so when you get lost, having a goal will really help. Some of the goals that the people in my group cited was that they wanted to learn to write faster without compulsively editing, to learn about themselves as a writer. Like, one of the things that people said was, I thought I was a morning person, but I can write at night too. Well, I thought I was a computer person, but I found out that I can write in the passenger seat of a car in a 3-ring notebook too. So you learn things about yourself. It's to establish, you might want to establish a writing practice. By the way, are you guys getting feedback? Is this okay? Working all right? Okay. Wave at me, flag me down if it starts to go weird. Okay, one of the members of our group wanted to learn to get in the habit of planning before she actually wrote. And she did, and it helped her. How many times have you said on January 1st, New Year's resolution, I'm going to publish a book this year? Well, wouldn't it be a lot better if you already had like 40 or 50,000 words in the tank? You might have a better chance of completing your goal in the new year if you already have that done. And also, lastly, to prove that you can accomplish something. By the way, my Nano group wanted to remind you that consistency is key to forming new habits. You must write every day, even if you can only crank out 200 words. Sit down at the computer and write, or get in the passenger seat of your car with a spiral notebook and write. You're training your brain for your new writing practice. If you see yourself as a professional writer, you have to do some things. And you know what I was thinking? Well, I'll save that for later. Never mind. Okay, Nano can serve as a springboard. It can jumpstart powerful new habits, but only if you do it consistently. So that was step 1. Decide what is your shining billboard, your banner, your goal. What is the reason you're going to do this? Step 2, start a profile at nanowrimo.org. Just go there and follow the prompts. It's all free. There is no charge. It's very simple to do. If you have ever participated in NaNoWriMo before, you have a dashboard already. You just have to go and sign in if you can remember your password. And then every year you push the new project button and you start a new project. So you describe your new work. What genre is it? What's your elevator speech? A little description of it. It's important to get on nanowrimo.org because there's a social aspect to it. There's a motivational aspect to it. Also, this is really important. This is where you log your daily word count. And they give you all kinds of cool charts and everything, even win awards. But if you don't sign on to nanowrimo.org, you don't have a place for this kind of accountability and motivation. So I really recommend it. Okay, one of the things that I do when I push that new project button, and it's almost always so much fun to start a new project. They ask you, like I said, what is the genre? Give a little description. This is what it looks like. This is I make a cover. This is my fake cover for this year. This is not the title. This is not the cover, but it's kind of the general idea because it's a romance of opposites attracting. So I like to create a cover and I don't spend any time on it at all. I don't pay anybody. It's just a dumb cover for fun. The reason that I do this is because I believe in visualization. And I believe that if you can see the project, then it's real to your subconscious. And I believe that if you describe it to yourself, it becomes more of a book than it was before you sat down and opened up NaNoWriMo and started to describe it. So how much of this can be work that's done during your sleep? Subconscious work is very, very helpful. So fill out the basics in the new project box. All right. Step 3, wrong. Structure your story. So now you know your goal. You've gone on NaNoWriMo and you've set everything up. Let's plan what you're actually going to write. For me personally, I said before, I can't just sit down and blurt out a story. I have to decide on the structure, and then I make an outline. So I'm going to give you some ideas for story structure. And by the way, within a week or so, a few days maybe if we're lucky, these slides will be uploaded to our blog, so you don't have to worry about not ever seeing them again. They will be available both on the video, the Zoom video, but also I'm going to upload the actual slides to our blog, and you can find them, give us a few days to do it, at dvwritersguild.org/blog. All right. Some of you hate to get into planning like this, but I really recommend that if you are a discovery writer, what we used to call a pantser, at least have some form of story structure in your mind. Here's the most very basic story structure I could possibly find for you. Number 1, who's the story about? Why that person? What's going to happen? That's your elevator pitch. What are the high points? Think of like 3 or 4 things, where is the point where she tumbles off the mountain? Where's the car crash? Where's the love scene? Get those pictures in your mind if that's all you're going to do, and then write to those scenes. And then conclusion, moral point. I have to say this is kind of a sore spot with me. Sometimes people write a story and they don't know why. I think it really helps to know, what is the point of your story? Why are you writing this? What do you hope people will get out of it? I think that's really a North Star. So if you're not doing that yet, you should really be asking yourself that hard question. All right, here's another example of story structure. This is famous. This is the Pixar story spine. And how this helps me is that I have this written down on an index card, and I go on my morning walk. So this is in the very beginning stages when I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to write about? What's my story about? I'll take my phone, open up Google Docs, hit the microphone, and I'll be like glancing at my index card for reference, and I'll be telling myself, dictating, what is this story about? Lynn, why would anybody want to read it? Why is this important? And I just kind of think to myself. Sometimes I don't need to dictate. Sometimes I come up with good ideas about who the characters are and what their struggle is going to be and what the resolution is going to be. So this story spine really helps me because I move from one thing to the next. If I can't figure out, what is the status quo? Once upon a time, every day she did this thing. That's the status quo. That's the first 10% of your book, isn't it? If I can't figure out what that is, I don't move forward to the next thing, the inciting incident. But one day, okay, it's simple, but it really helps me think it through. All right. If you are unfamiliar with story structure, and let me just digress for a minute. For a long time, I was frustrated. It took me 10 years to write my first book. I published it 10 years ago when I was 58. It won awards, so I did a good job. But it took me a long darn time to write that book because I kept having to throw away hundreds of pages. And I had this idea, maybe if I had gone into an MFA program, I would know this already, but I had this idea that there has to be some kind of, I called it my holy grail. There has to be some kind of a structure or some kind of a, where does this happen? Am I giving away the story by telling this too soon? Should it go more towards the end? Do I hang on to that big surprise towards the end? I had no idea what I was looking for, but what I was looking for was story structure. And now I will tell you, you cannot write a story without some kind of structure. Here are some popular good examples. Save the Cat by the late Blake Snyder. It addresses screenwriting quite emphatically, but it's good for writing a novel too. And in fact, they came out later after his death with a book called Save the Cat Writes a Novel. You could look for that too. Story Engineering by Larry Brooks. Anything by James Scott Bell. The third and fourth books are by him. And lastly, for romance writers like I'm trying to turn into, Romancing the Beat is a very helpful, very skinny little book, helpful. So after you find a structure that you like, apply your story idea to it. Expand it out to match the scaffolding of a structure. You won't believe how many ideas you get as you do this. So the next thing I do after this is an outline. And if you are not an outliner, I recommend you do at least a minimal one. Of course, I don't do a minimal one, I do a maximal one. So bear with me, here's what I do. I write a scene for every one of the 30 days in NaNoWriMo. I think of it as 30 days of writing prompts. So if I know what my story's about, and I know what the high points are because I've looked at the structure, I know where the big change is supposed to happen and where the big reveal is supposed to happen and where the dark night of the soul is supposed to happen. So I dream up scenes to match that kind of stuff. And I write 30 of them. You see that this number one right here in the opening scene, Diane, a condescending bank manager, is reprimanding a chronically tardy employee. What I'm setting up is that Diane has kind of a snooty attitude towards her employees. She's older. And what's going to happen to her, of course, is that her life is going to get turned upside down, because that's what has to happen to a smug, self-satisfied person in your story, right? So that's on day one. I open up my outline and I know exactly what I'm going to write on day one. So I write it, 1,667 words worth. Day two, on her way to lunch, Diana's knocked down and injured by bank robbers. What if I don't want to write that scene? I can write day 3. I can write day 23. I can write half of day 10 and half of day 20. I have my outline. I have my 30 days of writing prompts. And you know what else works for me with this is that if I finish writing and I've only got 1,200 words on the page and I just can't crank out another one about this scene, the scene is done. I can't expand it anymore. It's going to look stupid and people will get annoyed with it. Go to another scene. In fact, you can go to 10 other scenes and add 50 words to each one. And then you've got 500 words. But you're not just writing randomly, hoping that you can use those words. You're actually applying them to a particular scene. Let's say there's an argument in scene 19. Well, you can start working on that argument. Come up with 5 or 6 lines of dialogue. That's a few words, isn't it? So I really recommend, I mean, you can do any kind of outline you want or no outline. But for me, and I've completed, I should have said this in the beginning, but I wanted to tell you this now, is that I've completed 5 entire books doing NaNoWriMo. 2 of them are still kind of waiting to be published, and 3 of them have been published, including the one that I showed you. So it has really, my system has really worked for me, and I recommend that you try and adapt some parts of it. Okay, lastly, this is step 5. Thank God, huh, you guys? Brace yourself. I make a logbook. Yes, I do. I take a 3-ring notebook and I put in notebook pages, 30 of them. I make a little label. See up at the top, it says, up in the upper right-hand corner, I don't know if you can see this, it says, today, this is how many words I wrote today. The total so far is how many words I've gotten to so far, and what should the total be? Total so far should be. So that's a way of measuring yourself against the goal. Yeah, this is real analog, you know, you can go just do everything digitally on NaNoWriMo.org. But I have found that having a notebook during NaNoWriMo helps me plan ahead. I sit down in October and I look at November. Now I want to ask you, what crazy kind of maniac decided that we should have NaNoWriMo, the busiest writing marathon you could ever imagine, during a holiday month? Before before COVID, you know, we used to do a lot of stuff for Thanksgiving. And it's getting back to that way. It's a busy month, what with Thanksgiving and a lot of other things. So it was harder. Excuse me just a second. Sorry about that. It was harder back in the old days to do NaNoWriMo when you were traveling around. And it's going to get back to that. And the other thing is that life is always going to be challenging. You will always be dealing with things that get in the way of your writing. Keeping track or making a book, looking ahead to November, saying to myself, well, what's going to happen on the 1st? Is it a free writing day? Wide open? Yes. I make a note of that on the first page of my notebook. Turn to page 2. What does the second day in November look like for me? Well, in October, you kind of know when your doctor and dentist appointments are and what kind of work you're going to have. And, you know, maybe you are working full time and you will only be able to write in the evening, but there's an activity after school with your kids. So a particular day is not going to be a good day at all for writing. Knowing that ahead of time can allow you to be prepared. You could bank words, and you should bank words. This is a really big, important tip. If you are rolling along and you feel really good about what you're doing and you think, well, I could sit here and write another 300 or 400 words, do it. Do 500 or 600 more words if you can. And if you're done with your writing for the day and you get an idea, run back to your office or open up your laptop or whatever and write another 100 words, write another 200 words. Not only does this help you offset the challenging days that'll come up, and they will, but it'll teach you that you can write anywhere. How many of us think that we have to have ideal circumstances in order to write? We'll have to feel the muse. I have to light my candle and ring my bell and all that kind of stuff, you know? Well, not necessarily. Like I said, you can write anywhere. So I prepare a notebook for the 30 days. And you know what? This is one of the habits that has stuck with me. I don't prepare notebooks like every month this intensively. I only do it for Nano. But I do now look at, like, what is the week ahead? How am I going to write for the week ahead? Wednesdays are always bad for me. So now I make a plan that on the earlier, like Tuesday and Monday, I write really a lot. I actually have started scheduling when I'm going to work on my profession. Now I ask you, when you have a job that you report to every day, don't you know what you're going to do the next day? Don't you have a calendar? Don't you arrive at work knowing that you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z? And then at the end of the day, you know you're going to have to do something the next day. How is your writing job any different from that? How would you not have some idea of your schedule ahead of time and expect to be successful? Okay. Got nervous there. Couldn't hear myself. Anyway, and lastly, about this binder, it might help you with visualization as well. I've really found that visualization helps in most walks of life. This is one of them. All right, I'm going to show you an example of a record that I made preparing for a very busy November. This was pre-COVID. I went to 3 different places in the country. I went up to Paso Robles by train to have a Thanksgiving dinner with family members. And I flew to Texas to visit my girlfriend. And then I flew from her house to Atlanta to visit with other family members. So it's a very busy month and very difficult for trying to crank out 50,000 words. I mean, I'll tell you what, in normal months, I don't crank out 10,000 words. So this was really a big deal. This is what my page looked like. I don't know if you can read it. The lighting's kind of weird, but it says up at the top, day 10, Texas to Atlanta. Charge your computer. The morning will probably be hectic. You might get a couple hundred words in before breakfast, and the bulk of your writing will have to be in an airport and on the plane. You'll have lots of hours today to write, so enjoy. 2 hours in the airport and 2 on the plane. And you can see up in the upper right-hand corner, I was already behind. I needed to be at 17,000 words to be even at the start of that day. I was not. And in fact, that was not a very successful day. I have a note somewhere else I wasn't going to tell you, but I actually, even after all this preparation, I only got 200 words done that day. So it's really important to bank words ahead of time. All right. So you've done those 5 steps. You're all prepared now. What happens on November 1st? Like that graphic? Gets you in the mood, doesn't it? Okay, so the Nano experience. On November 1st, open up a blank doc and start writing. Bank words whenever possible. Stand up and stretch, drink water. Important to stay healthy. When you're done for the day, record your word count on nano.org. Leave yourself a note for tomorrow so you know exactly where you're starting that day. Oh, this is so important. Don't edit as you're writing. You have to just blow through. You can go back and edit it later, but right now, for this period of time, you have to just race through and write. And then keep your spirits up. Join an accountability group or motivational group or something like that. They have them on NaNoWriMo.org. Or if you want to see about joining the guilds groups, shoot me an email. My email is on another slide, but I'll tell you it right now. It's Lynne, Lynne, at anyshinything.com. Okay, and then what happens? Yay! If you are recording your word count on NaNoWriMo and you get to the 50,000, or really whatever number you established as a goal, you'll get a certificate and you get to call yourself a winner. At first, I thought that was really weird. I won at NaNoWriMo, but that's what people say. How many times have you won? So that's the lingo, you guys, and I hope you get there. All right, in conclusion, from doing NaNoWriMo, I have developed the following lasting habits. I now write or edit almost every single day. I also market. I am working on my business almost every single day. I work in 45-minute sessions with 15 minutes off. So I'll get up and I'll go like walk on the treadmill or lift some weights or do some stretches or something like that. Some days all I can do is one 45-minute session, and I write that down in my logbook because it makes me feel like I've done something. Some days I can do 4, but my regular goal is to do 3. I set goals for each writing day in my monthly logbook. Well, I don't make up a monthly logbook when I'm not in Nano, but this is a habit that has stuck with me throughout my regular life. So, as I'm looking at the week ahead, and I usually plan on Sundays, I'll be thinking, well, what lies ahead, this week? When am I going to be able to write? When do I have to do my marketing? And I write that all down in this notebook. I set goals, I record my progress, and I leave notes for the upcoming day. From doing Nano in the past few years, I'm able to publish 2 quality books a year, and my 8th book comes out next month. I don't think I can write any faster than that and have it be good. There are people who do write faster than that, and more power to them. I'm not one of those people, but you find your own pace. The thing is to be consistent and be happy with what you've done, to be satisfied with your success as a professional writer. So I have an actual writing practice. I have a writing discipline. Don't you wish you did too? I know some of you do. I know somebody sitting right here, my mentor, Jim Hitt, has definitely. You inspired me, Jim. So, all right. Summary. Decide on a goal. That's step 1. Why are you doing Nano? That's going to carry you through when you get bummed out. create a profile on NaNoWriMo.org, use story structure, create an outline, how much is up to you, and create a logbook or some kind of a tracking system to help you know where you are and where you're going to be tomorrow. Now, my NaNoWriMo accountability group has learned some things from this experience, and they have asked me to share with you their tips, tricks, and hacks for doing a successful NaNoWriMo. Some of this is a repetition, but dictation, I just can't encourage you enough to do this. Now, when I say dictation, some people get worried because they think I'm telling them they have to go out and buy a $400 program and train it how to, recognize their voice. I'm not saying that. Most of you text using dictation, or you do an email, or you do something, Google Docs, whatever, you dictate already on your phone, right? That is the simplest, most intuitive kind of voice recognition system I can recommend. So you walk around, or you walk on your treadmill, or you do whatever, and you dictate. And then when you get home, you open up your laptop to that Google Doc or whatever it was. You copy and paste that word, those words from that session, and you put it on your Word document. And then you have to clean it up a little bit, but don't spend too much time on it. For me, that has boosted. Every time I go walking, I get from 500 to 800 words done, and that's a huge increase towards the. It's a boost towards the 1,667 words that you need to do on average every day. Okay, take care of yourself, break up sessions with movement, warn your family. This is really important to some of us because they don't know, they really don't understand, and you're going to be kind of a maniac a little bit during this time. So know why you're doing Nano, what you hope to achieve, and use the NaNoWriMo.org website. Be sure to enter your daily word count, pad your word count. You can really do a lot of word count boosting, increase your word count by just jumping around from scene to scene and adding a line of dialogue in chapter 1 and a description in chapter 2 and a paragraph in chapter 3. You can leap around and add things, and you can still, it's a count. It's just a raw count. So I offer you that as a good tip. Prep work and source material, do it in October. Make sure you register. We've already said that. Join a team or make one. Get a couple of fellow writers together and meet weekly to encourage each other. We did it on Zoom, and we will continue to do it on Zoom. But pre-COVID and now post-COVID, there are starting to be physical meetups and that kind of thing. You can find a group that'll meet at a coffee house, or you can start one. It's important to have people who are doing Nano by your side, because as much as I love my husband, he loves me. When I tell him, oh, I did this, he's just, his eyes glaze over. He's a good guy, but he's not a writer. So find people who are going through the same thing. It's so motivating and it's so nurturing. I mean, if you get down in the dumps, they can pull you right back up, and you need that. So again, if you are curious about, if you need any information about our NaNoWriMo writing group that we do in November through the Guild, you can email me at my address is on the slide, lynn@anyshinything.com. Okay, and then on December 1st, you're going to celebrate your wins. You forged a powerful writing habit. You trained yourself. You gained confidence. I mean, that is big. I really feel like a professional writer now. Before I was sort of posing, until I got there. Now I'm there. You sell 3,000 books in a year, you're there, baby. And I did that through Nano. And if you follow my system or something close like it, adapted to your own needs and wishes, you can have a book in your hand by the end of November. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? This experience will change you. I guarantee it. So give it a try. Be consistent. You'll be amazed at what you can do. And again, if you want to review these slides at all, it's at DV, as in Diamond Valley, dvwritersguild.org/blog. It'll be there in about a week. And that's everything I have to say, but I'm curious. Has anybody done Nano? And if so, do you want to offer any suggestions, or do you have any ideas for helping others do it?
I tried multiple times and I never made it through because I just got so distracted, but I never really took time to plan the month before. So you've given me a lot to think about.
Well, good. And I would like to make another point. You don't have to do 50,000 words. For some of us, it's an important milestone to pass, to be able to say, I did 50,000 words. But I'm a veteran of Nano, and I didn't need 50,000 words last year. I needed 25,000. I had 5 more short stories I needed to write at 5,000 words each. So I set my goal at 25,000 words. I also thought it would be harder to write a brand new story arc, new characters, you know, all that kind of stuff 5 times as opposed to 1. So I cut myself some slack and said, I need to set my goal at 25,000. And I did it. In fact, I achieved 33,000 words in last year's Nano. And I published my book a few months later. So if 50,000 is too much and you feel like you're guaranteed to fail, I mean, I'd like you to challenge yourself, but rather than do something that doesn't make sense to you, set your goal at 45,000. Okay? Does anybody else have thoughts?
I do, Lynn.
Karen, hi.
The thing that really helped me was, I can't remember if it was Lynette or her daughter. I'm going to say 5 years ago, they did their first Nano. And I got very excited when they told me, and I said, well, did you make the 50,000 words? And she said, well, no, but I did 16,000. And I kind of went, oh, and she said, yeah, but I wrote 16,000 words that I would have never written before. And I thought, oh, okay, this is not, you're not competing with anybody. You're only competing with yourself. And I tend to be a very competitive person. And so when I take it on, I've done it 3 times. I've published 2 of the books. But last year I didn't have a plot. I couldn't think of a storyline. And so I just started in and wrote about my career as a teacher, how I got there, what I did, the things I could remember. And I just had fun writing it. I still did the 50,000 words. I haven't read it since, but I enjoy the challenge of it to just be on the course of writing every day. Like Lynn says, it just gets you in such a great habit. Now this year I have a plot in mind and I'm starting to think about, and I love her idea. I've never done it before. I'm going to try to do it this year, where you write the scenes down. So we'll see
30
how that
days
goes.
of writing prompts. Yep.
But another thing that I like to do is in the first 5 days, I like to get way ahead. So I will try to write, I've written as many as 3,500 words in a day, just so that when Thanksgiving comes or a holiday or family's going to get together, I'm not going to write on that day, but I'm ahead enough so that I don't have to worry about it.
Oh, that's so important. And you know, another thing too, the 16,000 number, how many months do we write 16,000 words? That's a huge accomplishment.
I forgot to ask you one question.
Yeah.
I wrote 147,000, but I'm having trouble bridging where she is to where she needs to be. And I'm real close to the end. If I email you and ask for information on your writers group, the 2 times I did it, the group that I found, they weren't super helpful. Could you help me brainstorm and strategize how to move forward?
Why don't you email me? And you know, do you know the address? It's lynn@anyshinything.com.
Yes,
Be sure
ma'am.
and put it. Be sure and put an E at the end of the Lynn.
Thank
Email me. I can't see the screen very well. So who is this that's asking?
Sorry, I'm Carrie. Carrie?
Say it again. Carrie.
Carrie.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good. Email me and we'll get started. I'll help you figure out a way to go. Okay.
And Lynn, I'd just like to add a little bit to what Karen said. That 16,000 that we did, that was with homeschooling all day long. So we did all of our lessons every day and still got that many words written. So if you can find time, and then just kind of a little plug for our Nano group, because when Lynn talked to us last year, I'm always a discovery writer. I just sit down and find out where my characters are going to take me today. I sat down and I wrote out, I managed to get, I think, 25 days worth of prompts for last Nano. And about day 16, my character said, oh, no. And they took me down a different trail. But I have this, and I've set that particular story aside because I like where it's going and it's going to be exciting. But I need to go back to the Nano story that I started 5 years ago, my very first Nano, and finish that up. So like Lynn said, even if you don't get done, I've got projects just waiting to scream and finish out. So,
Oh, amen.
do
That
it.
is so true. And I wanted to say that, Lynette, you taught me that my method can be not necessarily helpful to someone who thinks differently than I do, but you have to find your own system.
You do.
Can
Yeah.
I make one more comment about the group? Is we didn't help each other with our plots. I mean, we didn't talk about plots. We didn't go into the one lady said she'd like help with her plot. It sounded like we only talked about the practice of sticking with our writing and what were our distractions and how were we overcoming our distractions. But we did not waller around in each other's plots, so to speak.
Right, but I'm thinking we might be able to, I might still be able to give her some guidance and direct her in a particular direction. Michelle, what
Absolutely.
I just have a couple.
is your,
I just have a couple things to add. I was part of NaNoWriMo in 2020. With the pandemic, it was the first time I actually had time from my, non-writing life to actually focus on trying Nano. I always wanted to, but it was an impossibility until 2020. And I set a goal of 20,000 words because I knew realistically I couldn't do 50. And I got 20,041 words at like 5 minutes to midnight on the last day. So, it's just important to set your own goal. But I think the most important thing I can tell you, if you've never done Nano, you must enter your words the same day that you wrote them. Because I found out the hard way on day one that when I went in the next morning to enter them, they don't let you enter them for the day before or any other date.
I know
You
that
don't
really
enter it
annoyed
before
you.
midnight, you're dead. You cannot enter it onto that website. It also allowed me for the first time to start a book I'd had in my head for many, many years that I had never started. And now I'm a much slower writer. It has been 2 years almost, and I am now close to 80,000 words into that novel. So I'm actually getting a novel done in less than probably about 2 years, which is unheard of for me. Anyway, that's it.
I have a question. Lynn, I have a question.
yes.
Yeah. In my writing, I like to do research. Sometimes I need to do research to fill out the character. So what do you say to someone like me?
Howard, hold on a second. Okay, can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I have heard it called source material. I hope I'm going to answer your question correctly, but that's why we prepare so early. We get busy during October and we prepare the source material. If you know that you're going to have a scene in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, for example, you would do the research on Buenos Aires and write that source material down somewhere, record it, do all of your research ahead of time. And I don't know, you can do research afterwards, but not during the time that you're trying to write because it'll wear you out and slow you down. Is that what you were asking? I was a little distracted at the moment.
Yes, that was what I was asking.
Okay.
Because I do like to write about places I've never been and
Yeah.
places I have been that need, more detail about what life is like in that area or what it looks
Yeah.
like.
There's
visually.
no time at all during November to do research unless you're done with your writing for the day. Honestly, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say if you have enough energy to do research in the evening, grab your laptop and write another couple hundred words towards Nano completion. Make a note for yourself as to what kind of research is lacking that you need to go back and do later. And then you can do that in December. Because at the end of the NaNoWriMo period on November 30th, after you celebrate for a couple of weeks, and sleep and everything. You need to edit the work and polish it up into a publishable form. And at that time, you may find that that's when you will do the bulk of your research.
Can I say one quick thing to that? Because I write science fiction, and you know, a lot of times I have to research technology, I have to research science, space, and what I would do is I would put a mark. You can either put like double question marks in the manuscript, and then later on you can do a find to go back to where you needed to insert that data, that information that you research in December. So
Great idea.
that works.
That's
really
what
well
I
for me.
do. Yeah, that's what I do too. Or Howard, even better, you can write yourself a note and say, I really, really, really need to research this and get back to it later. And then you've already added 10 words to your manuscript. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Connie, did you have a question? Okay, all right. Jerry has a statement. Hold on just a second. We have a question from the audience and she needs to make her way to the podium. Music, please.
Yes, I have participated in Nano and I have 2 completed novels. It's, boy, when you get it, when you reread it though, there's a lot of editing, so keep that in mind. But on Nano, they have graphs, which are great. You can see either what a superstar you are or what a failure you are for that given day with the graph right in front of your face on you know, how you achieved for that day. Also, it shows you when your best writing time is, when you end up doing your most writing. So that's very helpful. And they have a region you can plug in, and you can even meet strangers in weird places, which I did 1 year, and it was a little weird, but that's another option. And I love it. It's a kick in the butt that I think most of us need. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to say one other thing. As far as what Lynette was saying, that during NaNoWriMo, she completed some works that she then was not going to publish right away, but she puts it into her file and it sits there as a resource. It's a gold mine. It's a work in progress that's just on a hiatus for a while. In 2019, my elderly mother came to live with my husband and me, and it was 15 months of intense caregiving. She was 94 years old at the time. And I wrote a novel. It was really a memoir, a journal during Nano that year. It just poured out of me because it was really describing the hideous situation that we were going through. We had some medical emergencies that you would think that the gods were just throwing down lightning bolts just to see how fast what it would take to make me crack. So I was writing stories about this in the form of, it's like a journal, but I was getting my 1,667 words every day, no problem. I'd close the door and I would just spew it out into my journal or onto my computer. It turned out to be something I could fictionalize into. I write about people who are over 50, later life people. And this turned into an exploration of a marriage. Now, this isn't accurate. It's not what happened in my life, but I'm changing the names anyway, so who cares? Okay. It's a really beautiful, it's going to be a beautiful novel one day, but I couldn't write it while my mom was still with us. And I can't write it probably for another couple of years because it'll be too wrenching, but it's there. And like Lynette says, even if you don't publish a book based on this Nano, put it in a file somewhere. You've got a heck of a start on another one. That's it.
We've had a couple of questions in the chat. Victoria was asking tips for Thanksgiving week.
Okay, definitely. Bank your words from every day leading up to that week. If you can do 100 extra words every single day, do it. Definitely look ahead and plan. Even if you're only going to plan for a week at a time, definitely plan for every day. What day do you have to do what? And know how many hours and when you're going to be able to sit down at your laptop and actually crank out some words. Those are my two best tips. Anybody else? Michelle.
I have one. I simply took my laptop into the kitchen and put it where I was cooking.
Oh.
And then while I was waiting for something to finish here or there, I could maybe write 10, 15 words. So I just kept writing between cooking.
Good, smart idea. Ask Victoria. Let's see, can you ask Victoria if that helped or if she has any follow-up questions?
Victoria, why don't you unmute and answer that yourself?
Yeah, that definitely helped. I've got I've got 5 kids and 3 of them are 2 and under. 3 of the kids are also in a bunch of therapies because they're different things. So I try to fill in wherever I can.
Yeah.
But then you add in that extra week where they're all off of school, towards they're off of school and, family and,
Okay.
all that other stuff.
Do what you can. I'm telling you, for you and for anybody else, there was a time in my life when I just despaired of ever being able to follow my dream of writing. I was working and I was commuting an hour each day. And so my days began very early and they ended late. And I just drained myself every day. My creativity was at zero, But what I did was on the weekends, and this may not work for Nano, but just in a global sense, as to keep your writing dream alive, you have to at least stay in touch with your art. Somehow stay in touch with that beautiful thing that is your creative drive. If all you can do is, you drop off a kid at school and then you pull over under a tree and you write for 5 minutes, just to remind yourself, maybe just journal. This is where I am in my life. This is what I hope to be. Here's a storyline that might work someday. Anything at all that you can do to keep that little ember alive. I mean, with 5 kids and full-time work and all that other stuff you were talking about, I don't know how you can do it, frankly. I couldn't, but Danielle Steele did it, and she had 8 kids, so go figure. Good luck, Victoria. Anybody else? Oh, Dennis had a question. Dennis, do you want to come up? Okay.
While
You see-
Dennis is walking up there, Victoria, I actually wrote in my pickup truck while my daughter was in biology lab because we had appointments and music lessons and things. So you steal the time where you can steal it.
I'll just say, don't forget to dictate. That's something that's been brought up already. But if you're going for a walk or what have you, what I would do is I would actually send an email to myself or set it all up. And then there's a little button that has a microphone. You can just start walking and talk in there and it'll dictate. And you'll all of a sudden then be able to send that email to yourself. And now you're off and running to be able to go ahead and transcribe that or put that over into your Nano account.
Great idea. Copy and paste is your friend. Are there any other comments in the chat? All right. Well, I guess this. Oh, well, our hearts are with her. Does anybody else have any questions in this room? No? All right. Well, thanks for your participation in this discussion, and I hope you will all join me and be a part of NaNoWriMo. And again, okay. Is that Kevin Kendall? Hey, Kevin.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Hi.
I did NaNoWriMo for the first time last year, almost as a challenge because I was taking creative writing at a local university here. And the class more or less said, well, you're the only person that could even do it. Why don't you try it? I didn't even join NaNoWriMo until I think it was November 6th. I came up with the idea kind of on about the 31st of October, figured by the 6th I'd have enough ideas for a story. I managed to make the 50,000 words in 1 month, albeit it was like 11:30 on November 30th. And I managed to make it. And my wife just asked me the other day whether or not I was going to do Nano this year because it does throw off your family life a little bit.
Yes.
It very much does. And with the dictation, I work a lot and I do probably 90% of my writing on my iPhone. And using Apple's text to speech thing, the dictation thing is great because literally it just puts the words right into my story for me. and then you just do the editing later. And it works great. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this year. But I actually used the Camp NaNoWriMos in April and July for doing my outlining for what I'm going to do for NaNoWriMo in November.
Wow,
So that's another option.
that's thinking ahead. Can you talk a little bit, Kevin, about the Camp NaNoWriMo? I've never participated. I don't know much about it.
It's kind of just it's just like NaNoWriMo, except for it's not the hard 50,000 words. You set your own little thing, but more or less all I did is just set myself a goal of 10,000 words. And that was literally just writing the outline and, like Howard, doing my research for what I was actually going to do. So my story that I've got coming up for this NaNoWriMo is actually going to be a Christmas story. Currently, the working title is Little Elf on the Prairie. But yeah, the outline for the story currently is almost 10,000 words just in like the different scenes and everything that I want to lay out. So not part of the actual story, but just kind of here's what I want to accomplish for my 30 days of writing tips.
Oh, wait, Lynn, there was another thing you didn't mention on NaNoWriMo, and I can't remember if I did it last year, but they have writing sprints that you can participate in, and you go in on Zoom, and then they'll set a timer. Everybody chats with each other first, and then they'll say, okay, we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then everybody just, it's silent except for the clicking of keys, and everyone's just writing as fast as they can. And I was thinking that even if you get together with a partner on Zoom, you could do that, or on the phone or anything, and just say, okay, for 20 minutes, let's set a timer and see how many words we can crank out. Now, when I did it, I wanted the words to be in the story. Some people, I think, were just clicking away words that meant nothing. But anyway, that's kind of a fun exercise.
How do you find those people on NaNoWriMo, Karen?
I forget. It seems like it was advertised in your region. Like if you were in Riverside County region, they had different activities you could participate in. They had some meeting at coffee shops to do that, and some of them were online, and I did a couple of those.
Okay, well, that's helpful. Kevin, are you wearing a Nano t-shirt? Kevin?
Yeah, that was my winter t-shirt from last year. And for what she was saying regarding the word sprints is what they're called. The short little writing things.
Yeah.
My local chapter up here in Calgary, they're going to be starting the meetups again. But what they did is they created a local Discord channel. So we actually do a lot of stuff through the Discord channel.
It's amazing, isn't it? How much community you can find everywhere doing NaNoWriMo.
Yeah. Kevin, stand up again, because when you stood up, you weren't on the screen. There you go.
All right, that's cool. And, you know, I want to say again that when you record your words, not only, as Jerry said, are there some really cool charts and graphs and measurements and all that kind of stuff make you feel like you're making progress, but also you get little badges, like after 5,000 words or something like that, you know. Yeah, it's weirdly enjoyable. You know, it's fun to get them. So anyway, that's another reason to join nanowrimo.org and actually fill out all the stuff. Any other thoughts you got?
And of course they have a store, so you can buy t-shirts and cups,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And we should also tell them that your certificate is up to you to print it out yourself. They don't send.
It's just a PDF. You fill in your own name and everything. But, you know, it's a nonprofit. It's actually a nonprofit. They do something for student scholarships. So it's a wonderful organization. Very, very uplifting.
Hey, Lynn, it's Lynette.
Yeah.
I want to say one other thing. You don't have to start with a brand new story. This year for Nano, I'm actually going to try and finish the Nano story I started 5 years ago. So a lot of my prep and stuff is going to take and outline what I've already done and see where that story is going to go and try and finish it. So, you know, some people do poetry. Some people do a whole bunch of short stories. I think, Lynn, in fact, you did a whole bunch of short stories for
I did.
Nano.
I did 5 short stories.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of outlining because you know, a lot of character development and everything. But yeah, you can finish. You can do anything you want. Step number 1: set a goal. Know why you're doing it. All right.
NaNoWriMo on the website, they've also got a lot of resources for how to plot out, how to outline. They've got courses and meetings just like this that they do through Zoom with people on how to do character development, how to do world building, how to do pretty much everything. NaNoWriMo is an awesome resource.
It is, and it's all free, unless you get hooked into their store.
Can you hear me?
We can, Gita, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Well, I'm all the way in Stockholm, Sweden.
Wow.
Yes, 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 yes. And I want to say that I have enjoyed this hour, an hour and a half, very, very much. It's very inspiring. And, you know, the internet is amazing.
Well, thank you. What time is it there?
Oh, dear. What do I have? It's a 9-hour difference. I have,
Oh,
yeah, so I'm glad you start early in the morning because that's when it's dinner time
Yeah.
here. When you
all right. Well,
have
thank you
breakfast,
for telling us that.
yeah, when you have breakfast or 9:30, I have 6:30 p.m. here. It's a 9-hour
All
difference.
right. Okay. Thank you.
this is
And
fun.
welcome.
This is fun.
All right. Any other final comments? Well, thank you all for all of the great ideas and all of the support and participation. And again, if you have any questions, it's lynn@anyshinything.com. And I wish you the greatest success again this year and in developing your own personal writing practice. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. This has been a very good session on NaNoWriMo. And I really like the way you outlined everything for how to do it. I think a lot of us are a little reticent about NaNoWriMo. Maybe it's lack of personal discipline, or that you showed us how to organize it so it's not overwhelming. And I think I'm thinking about it. I've never thought about it before, but maybe I'll give it a shot this time. And you've answered my question about research, so who knows? Maybe I can come up with something, or just write something that doesn't need research. I'll just pour my guts out. So we'll see. Okay, our concluding announcement is next month on October 22nd, our meeting will focus on prose reading. So if anybody wants to submit anything, it will be hosted by Jessica Bruce, Michelle's daughter. And Michelle, did you want to say anything about that?
Yes, she printed out instructions for me. So she had to
okay.
work today. That's why she's not here. So it's the annual prose reading, and we're dedicating it to Jolene Buring as a memorial, because she used to run this every year that we've done this. This will be the first year. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. So Jessica's going to be handling that. It is the next meeting, October 22nd, 9:30, the same as this. It'll follow the elections. So we'll do the elections first. And then she said, it's a wrap up to another amazing year of meetings with the annual prose reading. Just like August Poetry, this is an opportunity to share your hard work and creativity with the entire guild. Submissions open immediately after this meeting at noon today, and will close on October 8th at 11:59 p.m. I won't be up at that time, but I'm sure she will be. Submission guidelines follow the Straight Jackets guidelines, so you can click on the Straight Jackets magazine submission guidelines and look at those as far as what sorts of stories will be accepted, and a limit of 1,500 words. And due to time constraints, slots are limited and will be considered on a first come, first served basis, with paid members receiving priority. So if she gets too many entries, the paid members will fill slots first, and then we will go on to participants who are not paid members. Another incentive to pay your dues. I'm the membership chairman, so you know that. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Send your submissions within the subject line, prose reading submission, followed by your name. You can send it to dvwritersguild@gmail.com. I'll put it in a chat as soon as I get back to my laptop so you have all that information. And gosh, I'm looking forward next month to hearing people's prose. It'll be fun.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And again, I want to encourage everybody who wants to have their good work seen by others to consider participating in that. It's always wonderful, and I like to see what other people are writing, and I hope you do. I want to once again thank Lynn for her great talk today, and thank all of you for attending. It's been a wonderful session. And does anybody have anything they want to say before we adjourn?